What's going on, people? Welcome back to AFTV and welcome back to another AFTV Fan Zone Live, joined by Laurie. Lau, you well?
Big up yourself.
Big up. Listen, this is going to be a good. I want to enjoy this one because I think this
could get lively.
This could get very lively. I think
I'm looking forward to this one.
This is a conversation that's going around the fan base. You know, the Kai Havertz. Let's talk about him. Let's kind of get the goods, the bads. What you think is the best scenario for Kai Havertz? Do we try and bed him in slowly? Should he continue keeping his place? Are we being too harsh on him? Are we scapegoating him? It's more, obviously, this is a Fan Zone Live, so it's more about you guys, and we want you guys to go on the AFTV Plus app and join this conversation. It's very simple. Download it, click on, and you can join us straight, and you can give us your thoughts on Kai Havertz. But I kind of want to dissect everything from people that, where was your gripe on Kai Havertz? Because for me, I'm still yet to buy into Mr. Kai Havertz, in my opinion. There's still a lot for me to see. I wasn't a fan of the transfer when I first heard of it as well. But I want to kind of break down why that was. Is it because he's coming from Chelsea, which seems to be? Yeah, for me, no. I think Robbie trying to put easy said to me off camera. He's like, it's only because he's come from Chelsea. I'm like, I don't like Chelsea at all. But it's not because he come from Chelsea. Is it the price tag? 65 million, a lot of money. Is it that? Is that a thing? Is it because you just didn't rate him before he came to Arsenal? You didn't rate him at Chelsea? These are the things I kind of want to dissect and see, what are people's thoughts on it? And I believe there's going to have to be a place for Kai Havertz. I don't think this is a signing where it's like a Nuno Tavares. You come in, you play a few games, Arteta doesn't fancy you, you're not going to play again. You get sold or you get moved on, you go on loan or whatnot. I don't think this is going to happen with Kai Havertz. I think we have a lot of games this season where we're going to need our squad depth. And I know, or I see it very clearly, Havertz is Arteta's guy. Arteta seems to be sticking by him in the press conferences as well, which we'll go into some of the things he said in those. It seems like it's a player that he's going to stand by. But how does that make you feel as a fan? How does it make you feel? And for me, I think people know my thoughts on Kai Havertz.
Well, let's have it right. Yeah? So I do like to be honest with these things. There's no point in coming on here and saying one thing on here and another thing away from the cameras. So I'm going to keep it as real as I possibly can. When the signing was, in fact, rewind, when it was first muted that we were in for Havertz, myself and a number of other fans raised our eyebrows like, what? Really?
I thought it was a joke.
You know what I mean? I
thought it was a joke.
Well, I wouldn't say it was a joke, but I was surprised, to say the least. Yeah. When the signing went through, I was still surprised. I thought, wow. But then I thought, whilst I have my reservations about the player, because let's be honest, man, he was there for how many seasons at Chelsea? 3?
Yeah, I believe.
He hadn't exactly set it on a light at Chelsea. And I do have a few friends of mine that are Chelsea fans, and I've spoken to them and they were like, Laurie, you guys will drive him down to the Emirates, right? You can have him. That's the type of timeline they were on. And obviously I'd seen him in a Chelsea shirt, and I have to say I've not been overly impressed. There is a player in there, there's no doubt about that, but let's be honest, he's not hit the heights for Chelsea. So I'm thinking, okay, the manager's obviously seen something in him. And given Arteta's past record on some of the players that came into the club with some reservations, notably the goalkeeper, Ramsdale, to name but one. You think, the manager obviously knows about football way more than I do. He's put his trust in this player to the tune of 65 million. He's obviously identified something there. And don't forget, Kai Havertz is a German international.
Yep, being called back up again.
We know he's got a talented player. He's big, he's quick, he's skillful, he's a technical player. He does have the attributes necessary to make it in the Premier League at a club like Arsenal, but to date we've not seen it. So he comes in, pre-season wasn't out of the ordinary, let's be honest, but then he did get that very good goal, I think it was the MLS All-Stars game, where he trapped the ball, took it down, volley, straight in the corner. I thought, yeah man, there's glimpses there that, this might work. Okay then, so we move on to the Premier League. So far we've had 4 games, no goals, no assists, 1 yellow card, and to add insult to injury, he didn't have a very good game against Man United, which is, let's face it, one of the high-profile games of the season. I think his net contribution in that game was to miss a sitter, give the ball away, which led to United's goal, and then there was the incident in the penalty box where, for me, I don't think that was a penalty. I think he went to the ground all too readily.
I think we both was on the match day live and we kind of
and I would go further than that. I would go as far as to say that what I saw in that incident epitomizes somebody that is not in his most confident vein of form, because I think if you're a striker or any top player worth your soul and you see that gap open up like that, for me, I would expect you to go through and try and finish it, not wait for a little bit of minimal contact and hit the floor, which is, let's face it, what he did. So I guess what I'm saying is, so far, he's not made the best of starts. That being said, I'm not going to write him off just like that. But I do think, and this is where I might disagree with the likes of yourself and one or two others, I do think that it's got to the stage now with so much speculation and talk about him and conjecture and all the rest of it, that the manager, even though I don't think he'll do this, when the team resume from the international break in a couple of weeks' time and we play Everton, I would like to see Havertz stood down from the first team. Not because it's a personal agenda against Havertz, not because I don't think he can make it in an Arsenal shirt, but I just think a little bit of time out of the first team with a little less scrutiny will actually do him some good.
Yeah, okay, well, listen, it divides opinion, Mr. Kai Havertz, amongst fans I've spoken with, and a lot of what you said there, I agree with. I'm with you. I'm obviously... People know my thoughts. I'm a person who, it's not the Chelsea thing. It's not even the price tag. I watch football. I watch Havertz, especially strikers. That's one thing with me. I will always watch strikers. That's a bit of it's a mental bias I have when I watch football. I look at movement. That's the first thing I go to. And before I start looking at, the other team or how we're playing and whatnot, I always go to strikers.
I don't think you're alone in that. Most football.
That's what I look at. So I looked at Havertz way before he was here at Arsenal, and I made my assumption of him as a player before he arrived here. So I had my thoughts and feelings on him. Then he came here, I was confused. When I said I thought it was a joke, it's because when the rumours started coming, I normally, I do the welcome videos, many of you are aware of this. I prep them and whatnot, but I did not prep for Kai Havertz because I was like, they're not going to do this one. It didn't make sense to me. And obviously,
you didn't fancy no German hose dancing.
I didn't want to do no German dancing, which you did see in the end in the welcome video. But I forgot what it's called. I don't know. I forgot what the outfit is called. But yes, I just thought that wasn't going to happen. It didn't make any sense to me. But the closer it got, it did eventually happen. And I had my thoughts and feelings on him, on Kai Havertz. And
I think the other thing I neglected to say a second ago, I do think is important. You also have to frame it in the context that Havertz arrived in the summer with two other big money signings, Declan Rice and Jurriën Timber. And I think it's fair to say that both those two guys have had an immediate impact.
True.
Timber's obviously, as we know, he's injured, but prior to his injury, he was shaping up to look really good.
Yeah.
And Declan Rice, we all saw what he did on Sunday, man of the match, against Man United, high profile game, scored in effect what was the winner, let's be honest. That is the kind of impact you're looking from your big players in the team. And Kai Havertz at 65 million, with the reputation that he came into the team with, he is seen as a big player.
Yeah, but we have to take the price tag out of it because he doesn't decide.
No, but the price tag is important because of that reason.
No, I know.
You're valued at 65 million. That means
but that's not his fault.
No, that's not his fault. But what I'm saying, there does come with that a certain amount of responsibility that the player, like it or not, just has to shoulder. You know what I'm saying? So
I do think that's unfair. Yes, it's unfair.
No, I hear what you're saying. He didn't set the price tag. It's not his fault. But at the end of the day, the facts over feelings. 65 million is what we paid. That's what the fans will automatically say. Look, we paid 65 million for this guy. He's not performing yet. So that does have to be taken into context. It's not fair on him, many people would argue, but it's the same for Rice. It's the same for Timber. It's the same for any big money signing that comes in. I
hear that. Rice was the big money signing. He's right now of recent. He's like he's living up to that price tag. Jurriën Timber is injured, and I don't think it was a massive money signing. It was a fair fee, and he's injured right now. So technically,
no. But what I'm saying is, prior to the injury, he'd been playing out of his skin, man.
That I can agree with.
And Declan Rice, I mean, as I said, he'd been playing well, and then on Sunday he upped that level. So basically, what he showed was when the big games come, he stepped up. By contrast, Kai Havertz, big game, he probably had his worst game for Arsenal.
True.
So I actually thought, of the 4 games he's played so far, myself and you sat next to each other at the Palace game, and we both said that we thought he had a decent game against Palace.
Yeah.
Even though he didn't score, he didn't assist or whatever, but I thought he held the ball up well, especially when we went down to 10 men. He did have a decent game. However, I don't think his contribution so far is as such where you can say that he's proven himself to be one of the better players.
True, we have to
living up to his reputation.
100%. I want to give both sides. I do want to give both sides, and people now that are listening and watching and have watched and followed AFTV, they'll know us two's opinions and thoughts. But I do want to give both sides because I don't want to seem like I said the price tag is not fair on him to judge him on that because it's not his fault. But there's facts over feelings in it. But also like. My premonitions were with the fact that, Emile Smith-Rowe's still in the side. There's a Fabio Vieira who, at first, let's be real, people were probably saying the same thing last season. He's too lightweight. What does he do? Yeah, I can kind of see a player in there, technically, but I don't see it. Send him out on loan. That's what I was hearing last season about Fabio Vieira. And now, look, people are calling for him. Emile Smith-Rowe's another one. There's a lot of question marks on Emile Smith-Rowe, but he occupies the position I think, Havertz plays, and I think Emile Smith-Rowe could offer some more there. But it will start turning from Kai Havertz to Mikel Arteta because it's his stubbornness that wants to keep him in the side. And I kind of want to explore all avenues when it comes to Kai Havertz because there is a lot to talk about. A lot of people will go to recency bias of the Man United game and they'll talk about the miss and they'll talk about, the error leading to the goal. But Bukayo Saka also had a really bad miss and people
No. You can't. No. Because
he had a bad miss.
Yeah, true, but Saka's proven himself, bro.
I hear that.
This is a different timeline.
I hear that, but the energy was a lot more. I get Saka has.
He's got credit in the bank,
but this
man has no credit in the bank, bro.
I know, but people it seemed like they were brushing over Saka's miss. Like, I can't believe it. And I was one of them. I couldn't believe Havertz missed that, but I also keep the same energy. Saka I think he had a poor game on the weekend against United.
Saka, I think it's fair to say, since the start of the season, I mean, he was good against Forest, but he's not really hit the heights yet. No. But that will come. And listen, I'm hoping it will come with Havertz. I'm not, as I said previously, I'm not writing him out completely. All I'm saying, I'm putting the facts on the table. 4 games, no goals, no assists, 1 yellow card, give the ball away for United's goal, missed a sitter in the same game. And even the penalty incident, I would have expected a player of his renowned quality to try and go through and score that rather than take what some people might determine as the easy way out and fall down for a penalty, which, as we know, he didn't get. Correct. But listen, of course there's time for him to turn it around. But what I'm saying is, and I'm putting it out there, for the game against Everton after the international break, I think it would be in his best interest if the manager, and I'm not saying the manager's going to do this, because obviously the manager's got ulterior motives. He wants to back the player, and I can see that. But I think for the good of Havertz and for the good of the team, for the good of everybody, I think it might be better to bench him for the Everton game. That's not to say that he won't play a part in the game, but just take a little bit of the pressure off him, man. You know what I mean? You can make a man feel loved and back him without doing the obvious and keeping him in the team until things get really bad. You know what I mean? So
with Idris Gueye in the midfield, Onana and all that, you're saying you want like a Fabio Vieira in there, lightweight Fabio Vieira over maybe a Kai Havertz.
It's not a matter of lightweight. I just think that there are other players in the team that deserve an opportunity. You spoke yourself about Smith, Rowe, Vieira, 1 or 2 others. Listen, it's a squad game, you know.
I agree.
And there's 38 Premier League games and countless other games in cup competitions and stuff like that. So we know he's going to feature. There's no real rush. He signed how many years was the contract he signed?
I believe it's 5 or 4.
Yeah, so it's a fairly long-term contract by today's standards.
Yeah.
And we're only 4 games into the season.
That's what we have to keep reminding people as well.
I want to reiterate, I'm not writing this man's career at Arsenal out completely. All I'm saying is he's not made the best of starts, and there is a certain level of pressure and scrutiny. And I'm saying that to relieve some of that pressure, I think it might be best to not start him.
Okay. Let me go to the comments that are on the top of the show. We got some callers as well on the way, and I'm just going to go to the comments at the top of the show. AJ says, "Leave him alone. I can not understand how people can bully a player. Tomorrow, it's your kids or relatives." But then the comment underneath that says, which is from David, says, "Worst player in an Arsenal shirt by far," which I think is a little harsh, but this is how much it divides opinions. We've got some super chats here. George Perez says, "I feel that Edu wanted Bilatello, but Arteta convinced him on the Havertz and now feels pressured to deliver." Now, we'll go through some of what Arteta says as well, which which we'll get into at some point when we speak to some of the callers. Thomas King with Super Chat says, Havertz gets into good positions and will come good. Alex McCarthy with Super Chat says, Havertz is a confidence player. They hardly work out. Pepe, prime example. I don't see City with these types of players. Rice isn't one and doing well. Well, City signed Calvin Phillips and we haven't really seen him, and I wouldn't say he's a confidence player, but there's players that they've signed and haven't come to the forefront of a Pep side. Again, Grealish as well, when he first arrived, he took time to bed in. There was a lot of criticism over him because he had a lot of pressure because of the price tag and whatnot, but it took time for him to bed into that City side as well.
Look at players do take time to bed in. Dare I say, Dennis Bergkamp.
Yeah.
I remember when Dennis Bergkamp...
Thierry Henry as well.
Yeah, Dennis Bergkamp is a good example, and I'll tell you why. Because he came to the club in a blaze of publicity and expectation, and it didn't quite work for him at first. And I remember, I was actually there when Dennis Bergkamp scored his first goal for Arsenal against Southampton. And at that time, there was a lot of people saying, I'm not sure if this guy's right for us, I'm not sure if he's going to work out. And then he went on to be one of Arsenal's best ever players. Yeah. So, listen, what I'm saying here is plenty of time for Havertz to come good. It's just my observation, though, is that, the level of scrutiny now with players is such that it even surpasses when Henry and Bergkamp were playing, yeah? Would you agree?
No, I 100%.
And with level of scrutiny comes level of pressure. And I just think that Havertz, it might start to affect him the way things are going right now. It's almost, to me, it's almost being kind to take him out the firing line for a little bit.
Do you know what it is? I want to get to...
When I say take him out the firing line, I'm not saying banish him from the team, bro. I'm saying, listen... It might be best if he doesn't start.
No, I get what you're saying.
And reintegrate, reassimilate him into the team.
I get what you're saying. The thing, listen, I know this is about you guys and we are going to definitely get to the fan zone, but I just have to mention this. I think also it's with the times that we're in is why there's more added pressure, and the fact that Arteta is continuously starting him. The fact that we finished second last season, every signing now that comes in, we expect to hit the ground. When Trossard came in last season, there's a guy actually mentioned about Trossard. He came in and surprised us all. He did, for me, hit the ground running, but he also was, I don't think he was thrown in. He was introduced quite slowly. Jorginho as well. Jorginho for me was a shock signing, a signing I didn't believe that we needed at the time. But he came in, he was bedded in though, slowly. And
but the difference is that Havertz was a summer signing, unlike those guys.
I agreed.
And he's come into the team, £65 million. You know what I mean? So fans are expecting to see him. You know what I mean? That's what it is. That's what I'm talking about, level of scrutiny. If he hadn't started those games, people are saying, why have you got £65 million player that you're not playing? So I can absolutely understand.
City do that though. City do that.
Well, I'm not saying City can afford to do that.
I think.
And maybe you're right. Maybe we should have done that. But I can understand the manager's paid that money. He believes in the player. He's got confidence in him. And he started him in those games. And listen, I can see that. And I can also see where after the international break, Havertz will start. Because I do think the manager will do his very best to back him. But it's just, if I was the manager, I would look at things slightly different. But I think we've got a number of callers.
We do. I'm just going to go to the last super chat here from Colton. Says, Xhaka took years. Let's give Kai a go. I like his movement. That Howler versus United, good touch, terrible shot, looks mentally off. Give him 10 to 12 to settle. I'm assuming it means 10 to 12 games there to settle in.
I hope he's not saying months.
And then lastly, actually, we'll come back to Jay Federer. Thank you so much for your super chat. We'll come back to that. I was going to bring in some of the callers because
let's go.
We are now well into the show, and the Havertz conversation needs to begin. Can hear you nice and clear. We have the Mash first. The Mash.
Hello. How are you?
Hello. I'm very well. Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing fine, especially after the win, after the big win. Yes, feeling great.
I think a lot of Arsenal fans are enjoying this week off the back of the win against Man United. But the question here that we've got going on today is Kai Havertz, and I kind of just want to start with what's your thoughts on Kai Havertz? Actually, let's start with that.
When I first see us linking the first link, I was very excited. I saw that Arteta can bring the best out of him. But after those 4 games, I'm kind of started doubting it. I think he needs to be given time and eased slowly into the team, like Robbie said. So I'm not ready to make to have strong opinion about him in a year's time.
Yeah, it's too. Would you say it's too early? Would you say it's too early?
Too early, and he's not that kind of player that will immediately make an impact like Declan Rice. He's unique kind of player. We need to arrange a system around him to see the best out of him. So I'm not too reactionary.
It's a tough one though, isn't it? Because you say, he's going to take time, but he's a player that has played in the Premier League for a while. So this time that everyone's saying, and I hear Robbie says, we'll give him time to bed in and stuff. No, Robbie as well. He mentioned Robbie as well. So he mentioned that, Robbie, and you said that as well. You said he needs time to bed in, but he has been a player that's been in the Premier League, and normally I'll admit that for foreign players coming to this league, give them time, ease them in slowly. But me expecting more from Kai Havertz, you understand it because he's been a Premier League player.
Did you expect more though? Because you said previously that you didn't rate him. Did you expect more?
No, I don't rate him, but I'm saying, but he's been a Premier League player though. So
I'm just pulling your leg.
Yeah, my thoughts on Kai Havertz is clear, but he has been a Premier League player, and that is a fact. He's played for Chelsea for a number of years. We knew we shouldn't have to give him time to bed in. Yes, it's a different team.
Listen, as I said before, we know there's a player in there. We look at a guy 6'2", he's quick, he's technical, he's got skill, he can score goals. I mean, he scored Champions League goals. I think he scored in the Champions League.
Scored the winner,
yeah. So we know he has ability. What some of the people who have reservations about him are saying is that he's not been consistent in producing consistently at Chelsea, and now at Arsenal he's made an indifferent start. I'm certainly not saying that we should throw the baby out with the bathwater, but what I am saying is he needs to be handled very carefully, and I'm not so sure that continuing to start him when he's not playing well is in his best interest.
Tomasz, would you start him against Everton after the international break, or would you? Or who, if you don't, who would you bring in?
Well, I definitely wouldn't start him against Tottenham. But
to be fair, that's another great point. I mean, that's it. But that is a game that can make or break a player. I feel like the United game, if Kai Havertz did score that opportunity, this would be not many people would be having.
We wouldn't be having this
conversation.
No,
I think you're right though. Tottenham, it's a risky game to play him against. But Everton. What about you for Everton?
Everton, everyone keeps talking about starting Vieira, but Everton is a really physical team, so I don't think that Vieira will be a much better option.
I agree with this.
I think I'm gonna go with Jorginho, Rice, Odegaard.
Okay, so you drop Havertz, but you put Jorginho in and push Rice forward. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, well, listen, thank you so much for joining us and giving your thoughts on him, my friend.
Thank you.
We've got loads of callers waiting, so apologies it was short and brief, but good to hear from you.
Yeah, thank you. Goodbye.
Perfect.
And let's be honest as well, sir. So if we look at the 4 games, so we had Forest at home, okay, then we had Palace away, Fulham at home, and Man United at home. I would say certainly those first 3 games, Forest, Palace, and Fulham. If you're looking at those 3 games, and listen, there's no disrespect to those 3 teams, but if you're looking to assimilate a player into the team, you would imagine that you look at those first 3 games and think, those perfect for assimilating a player like Havertz, but it's not quite worked yet.
Okay, well, we've got loads of people waiting in the green room. So let's bring Ken in, because I believe he's... Ken, hello.
Hello, how are you? How are you guys?
I'm very good. I'm very good, Ken. Good to see you.
Nice to meet you again.
Good to see you again. And listen, I took your advice last time about AFC Croydon. I went down and watched them against Hawley as well. So big up. I believe it was you, Ken. I hope it was you.
Yes, it was me. It
was you. I thought so. Because you looked at me bewildered then. But yeah, I took your advice and I went down and I saw the boys there. So big up, man. Like I said, I'll be involved with AFC Croydon in some capacity.
Oh, thank you, man.
No problem. But let's diverge from that and speak about Kai Havertz. I would love to get your thoughts just on Kai Havertz so far. Where do you stand on the player?
For me, I think Kai Havertz, I think for me, he's struggling at the moment at Arsenal.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem I see is now is that us fans we need to give him time, give him time, and then let's see how it goes. But what I want to see in the next match is Arteta what he needs to do now. Put him on the bench, and then when we need in the second half, bring him on in the second half, and let's see how it does. And then if he does well from the bench, then you can start putting him on as the starter. But for now, put him on the bench. And what I don't want to see from the fans is that the fans start cussing him and start giving him different type of names. I don't want that. As an Arsenal player, support your players. Don't start calling him names or anything. But for now, I think he has had a bad start. He's struggling. Next match against Everton, put him on the bench and let's see where he goes from there.
Everyone keeps saying put him on the bench, put him on the bench, put him on the bench, and I hear it. But then when do you reintegrate him back into the side? Because say Champions League game, we've got PSV at home. That's our first Champions League game. Would you play him then? Because I feel like if we go with what the fans are saying, I know Mikel Arteta thinks this. If you go with what the fans are saying, then when we actually have Havertz start or for a game, people are gonna be like, oh, there's gonna be that mood of, oh, Havertz is starting. So do you just cold hard drop him, or and if you do, when do you reintegrate him back into the team? Are you saying just off the bench? Because I don't think he's an off the bench player, because he takes time to kick into gear. We see him play. I don't think he's a player that's going to come on and completely change a game. I think he does need to start like an Eddie Nketiah.
Yeah, but I think what you're saying is good. But we've seen in the first 4 games what he can do, but he hasn't really shown us anything at the moment. But I think Arteta just needs to think. Let me put someone like Pablo Vieira on, because Pablo Vieira, since he's come off the bench, it's done well for us.
Yeah.
And look at against Manchester United. It was his pass to Jesus that made us score the goal. And I think just if he comes on from the bench, and then we see what he does. If he does well, then we can bring it back in.
Okay. Listen, thank you very much, Ken. Listen, good to hear from you. Good to see you again, my brother. Good to see you. Thank you for your words. We've got
thank you very much, guys.
Take care, my bro. We've got some more people waiting in the wings. We've got Ahmed, I believe, ready to... Ahmed, hello.
Hi. How are you guys doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm intrigued to hear the fans' thoughts on Kai Havertz and how they're feeling. I know I've got Laurie with me as well, and Laurie, we want to get your thoughts anyway here. So let me just begin with opening up. Kai Havertz with you. Where are you at? Is it time? Do you see him coming good? Would you play him against Everton? Where are you at?
Yeah. To be fair, I think I'm kind of disappointed, but the thing is, the history that we had with players that came in from Chelsea, it was always, I think there was that history that these players are not really going to produce in Arsenal. And so I think I don't know. I'm very disappointed.
So is it the Chelsea thing for you then? Is it because he's come from Chelsea? But so is that really a fair enough judgment? Do you think?
Not really, because obviously people will draw reference to signings that have come from Chelsea that have not taken off. I mean, the David Luiz thing. Although personally, I didn't think David Luiz did badly for Arsenal.
I don't think he did badly either.
But there's been a few others that haven't hit the heights, and so people automatically, because Chelsea are a rival of ours, they say, "Oh, we're getting another dud from Chelsea," which I don't. Listen, it's far too early to cast aspersions in that way. But we do also have to remember, and this is an important point that needs to be made, this is not exclusively about Kai Havertz, because, as I said before, it is a squad game, it's a team game, and there are other guys there chomping at the bit, waiting for their opportunity. You mentioned Fabio Vieira, Emil Smith-Rowe, is another one. These guys are probably thinking to themselves, well, look, when am I going to get an opportunity? You know what I mean? So it's a situation that needs to be managed very carefly.
So Ahmed, so your thing is the Chelsea thing, but is it just that? Because really, if you're judging a player just because of the club he's come from.
No, okay. I think Chelsea is like just the whole thing. Like every player that comes from Chelsea, like they'll always. I think the best thing the best player was, I think, Jorginho. The rest of them were okay or bad, but other than that.
Ahmed, where'd he go?
He did make some good points though.
Ahmed has just left. He lost connection. Hopefully we'll try and get him back towards.
But yeah, as I was saying, Cecil, if you're Emil Smith-Rowe and you're Fabio Vieira, I mean, obviously they're not going to voice this publicly, but privately they're probably thinking, well, look, man, you know what I mean? It's about time I had a little chance. Reece Nelson, those guys, you know what I mean? Everyone wants to play. It's a very competitive environment. And if you brought in a guy and he's had 4 games and he's not really performed, you might look at your bench and think, well, this is an opportunity for somebody else to come in and stake their claim.
I also think the players that are at Arsenal currently, they buy into this Mikel Arteta project. I think they understand.
Yeah, of course they do,
that,
but
you
at
know,
the same
there's gonna
time,
be
they're
games.
players.
Of course, they're going to be frustrated.
They have
you saw
egos
the Amazon documentary,
and they want to play.
Yeah,
you know what I
course,
mean?
of
You were
course.
a player one time.
I was.
Did you like sitting on the bench?
One time I was.
Did you want to be sitting on the bench?
No, I don't like sitting on the bench. But
No one
I have been at football clubs where you understand, and the manager, you have a good relationship with the manager, will say, listen, I have to bench you this week, but we're going to use you for this. And when I use you here, you'll be more important, you'll be more effective off the bench. And I understand, I buy into that. Of course there's frustration because you want to play every game, especially when you're young. But Havertz is coming, and you know, it's been Mikel Arteta's guy. He's had time for me. It's only been 4 games, so I've got to stop jumping out of my skin. It has only been 4 games, but if I was a player looking at Havertz's performances, I'd be saying, brother, I have to be getting my opportunity at some point. And
I guess the other
confident.
side to the argument is, had he not have come from Chelsea and had people not have preconceived notions, would people be moaning after 4 games if it was another player in a similar type situation?
The Chelsea thing,
So-
I kind of just pushed
So
to
maybe the
side.
Chelsea thing does have a little bit of a bearing on it. Maybe the fact that he hadn't done that well at Chelsea.
I think there's more
It's
argument.
influencing
There's more of
some
an
people's
argument
view.
in saying he's been in the Premier League, and what I've seen of him in the past couple of seasons at Chelsea haven't been good. Is the reason why I have my doubts with him at Arsenal. I think him just coming from Chelsea, I think it's the overarching thing, but I just think forget that, because players can come from anywhere. Sol Campbell came from Tottenham, but look how good he was for Arsenal. Like, if Harry Kane came to Arsenal from Tottenham, I'm sure people would be saying, "Oh, I don't like it because he come from Tottenham." They'd be judging him on his performances. So I think the Chelsea thing, leave it. Listen, everyone has their own thoughts and feelings, but me, I kind of push that to the side. The price tag and what club you're coming from, I leave it. I'd give him more time and be honest.
I think it goes back to what Ahmed was saying, though, the previous caller, and he did make a good point. He goes, at the moment, it just looks like Jorginho is the one that's come from Chelsea that's done well. The rest of them haven't done so well. So people are naturally inclined to mention that, you know what I mean? So,
yeah, no.
hey.
I think you make a very good point. I just want to, like I said, I want to have this whole conversation on Kai Havertz, and it's not a one to get at Havertz. It's kind of just discussion of what you think's best for the team, where you think he'll fit in, because like I mentioned, this doesn't feel like a Nuno Tavares sort of signing. This doesn't feel like a Lokonga sort of signing where, yeah, they came in and they were young, so they had the time, they had a little bit more, I don't know, they had a little bit more leniency when it comes to bad performances. But Arteta made a decision where, okay, you're not ready for this Arsenal side now, we'll leave you to the side and maybe get you out on loan or go you to another club by the end of the season. I don't see this happening with Kai Havertz. So you have to give him time. I think you have to give him time. But yeah, we're going to go to Trini next, who's waiting in the wings. Trini. Now, is that your name, or are you from Trini? Because I don't know, it's a Caribbean. Where I like the name Trini. Talk to me.
Yeah, I'm from Trinidad.
All right, Trini.
Big up the Soca boys.
Yeah, big up the Soca man them every time. All right, Trini. Talk to me then, Mr. Kai Havertz. Your thoughts. Let's just get your first initial, take on Kai Havertz.
So what I have to say first of all is I'm really sad that we have to have this conversation, or that we're having this conversation.
Agreed.
Because I mean, the fact that the fan base is being divided over just one player already is really sad. And for all the points that you made before, it's coming with the track record from Chelsea players, etc., etc. But if we really deep it, I don't think that we should be backing this player regardless, and that's what I do. I back my player because the manager is backing the player. Now, the reason he's playing and he's continuing to play because we all know that Arteta is very stubborn. He is about his system.
Which means he can get things wrong though, right, Trini? Which means he can be stubborn and be wrong.
No, we all can. So, yeah, absolutely. He can get it wrong.
Yeah.
He a little while to turn around and say, yeah, I was wrong. But
it does take time. Actually, he will never admit it, but yeah, go on, carry on.
That's what I'm saying. So, but I think what we need to do is deep the scenario with Havertz from a technical perspective. So, where Havertz used to play back in Germany,
yeah,
was slightly. He used to play in the midfield, but he was like the number 10 in the midfield,
yeah.
coming in with late runs, basically.
Correct.
He went to them people over there in that blue uniform. Yes, they spoil him because they put him in a position where he was up front and wasn't comfortable in that position. So he had to change his game. He's now coming over to us, to the right side, and basically he's playing like what Xhaka left over. But we also have to consider that those 4 games was Zinchenko there.
Yeah.
Because Zinchenko was the difference maker when he tucks in. He could pick passes. He could manipulate the ball more and allowing Xhaka to get into. He was allowing Xhaka to get into places which were causing problems. But also, what that does also meant, and if you had look at Xhaka's performances, he's a natural defender and he could smell. He could spell danger, so he used to get back.
Yeah, and sit into that left back role, yeah, for cover, yeah.
Which is what Havertz now has to do.
But we don't really see him do that much. He more plays the offensive role. He covers at times, but he's more used to be forward, further forward. Yeah, correct.
Technically, he has to do that though. So you understand? It's a change for him. It's a change in a system. I'm not saying this to defend him. I'm saying that this is why we need to give him time. We're looking at a player that is very low on confidence because he was covered in that ish over in that blue side. He's now he's in the shower. Let Mikel cook. Let Mikel cook. Chance. Let Mikel cook.
I think we also have to look at the tactical emphasis as well. So as he said, he's been brought in to do a slightly different role, and it's also changed the way in which the team has been constructed. We saw earlier, and we know he's injured now, but previously Partey was playing at right back, and there were other changes, and a lot of people rationalised and said that those changes were to accommodate Havertz. And I think it's also fair to say, without being too damning, that whilst we've done pretty well in terms of we've had 4 games, 3 wins, 1 draw, the performances, however, have been a bit stop-start, haven't they? They've not been fluid.
From him.
And a lot of people have put that down to the changes that have been made, and a lot of people are putting the changes that have been made down to Havertz having to be accommodating inside. So you see what I mean? There's a lot of things around the Havertz signing that people have expressed their reservations of. So
but
I do have a level of empathy for him, but it's just that, at the top level, football is quite a brutal environment. And if he's not quite performing, which I think it's fair to say he hasn't been, then there comes a time when, for me, the manager has to look at it and say, well, actually, maybe I need to revisit this.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you at all. I think absolutely that's why he gets paid a lot of money to do what he's doing. I just know that if he plays at Everton, and I think he will,
I think he will too, actually,
because Arteta is very he wants to stick with that system.
Yeah.
And I mean, it'll go bang. Fingers crossed.
Well, that's the thing. This is the thing. Sorry to cut you, Trini. I hear what you guys are all saying, and I do disagree with the he has to do the Xhaka role thing, because I think they've got a system now where sometimes Rice drops in and covers, so it allows Havertz to be more further forward and kind of have the freedom that he needs, because there's cover there. But I'm going to go past that. Agreed, he might start against Everton, and knowing Arteta, he probably will because he's stubborn. But how long do you think we're going to be able to put up with this? Because I speak to the fans so regularly, it's boiling thin when it comes to patience with this guy. And if he keeps dropping performances like we saw against Man United, now I don't like having this conversation as well. I say back the player to as far as you can. But again, there's higher expectations this season.
Oh, you know what? Why don't we do a poll? Should Havertz start against Everton?
Okay,
so
the production will do that.
Team can arrange that. It'll be interested to see the numbers that come in.
But Trini, that's my question there is how long do you get? And you're right, it's only 4 games. So it's still early in the season. So maybe some of the fan base might be jumping out of their skin way too early. Even me might be getting a bit too, overzealous when it comes to the Kai Havertz thing. But when do you start saying, okay, Mikel, because it seems like now people are looking at Mikel instead of Havertz. When are you going to say, let's stop now. Let's come on. Like, we've tried this. Is it if he bombs at Everton? Is it? I mean, Spurs are coming up soon as well. Like I mentioned, if it goes wrong there, I know it's not going to be. And I don't want it to be like that, but I just know how the fans can be. So So yeah,
But you do make a good point, because if it doesn't go well in those games, you could, I'm not saying it will happen, you could have a situation where some of the fans start going publicly against a player, and that wouldn't be a good look. But,
exactly that. Go on, Trini.
Question, because I know there's people waiting. I would say Everton, he plays at Everton, or either they bench him at Everton and they let him play against Eindhoven simply because of his Champions League experience.
Yeah.
And look at his performances then. Now, the question on the back of that is, what is a good performance for Kai Havertz, right?
That's another good question.
So,
well, I guess what you want from him is to influence the game positively, and I think it's fair to say that so far, with the possible exception of the Palace game, I thought he had a decent game against Palace. But if we're being brutally honest, when we look at the other games, I have to say no. And it's also has to be said, against Man United, he dropped a bit of a stinker. But just keeping it 100. So, yeah.
It's a difficult one for him, because who are we comparing him against? Odegaard on the other side, balling. Rice, Jesus Christ, legend already. So
when you look at it like that, I guess,
Look how quick man can just do this. They love a player straight. You know what I mean? It's still, and we've got to do it both ways. It's still early on in the season as well. I know you're saying legend Rice. He's got a goal. You know, that beat. You know, a team that we want to see him.
Rice was just levels. Sorry.
No, I agree. I was there. Listen, I was screaming, singing Rice, baby. But again, it's still early on. There's still a lot of the season left. But yeah, listen, Trini, thank you so much though for giving your say on Kai Havertz. Big up, my bro. Thank you so much. Bro.
Thanks for
big up, man. Love from Trinidad and Tobago. Love every time. Big up, Trini. Dini, I believe, is next. Dini.
Well, go on. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear, Dini.
Beautiful. I'm good, man. You look good today. It's nice weather today, you know.
It's hot in here, boy.
I can imagine it's steamy in that studio right now.
It's very warm.
But the question, Mr. Kai Havertz. Not King Kai just yet, but Kai Havertz. You know what I mean? I feel for him. And there are always two sides to every argument. There are always two sides. On the side of the defense, I'm going to start with that first. His time at Chelsea wasn't great. He was, how many managers was he under at one period? It's like 4 different managers. He had Lampard, Tuchel.
There's always changing there at Chelsea. You
see what I'm saying? So
always Potter
was there as well. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So when the environment and you know, so when the environment is not stable, and you don't have a stable environment to perform in, that's good. That is going to affect your game. It's going to affect your confidence. It's going to make you question as a player whether you can really do this. And I feel like we can still see the mess that's happening at Chelsea now. And there are a lot of players that are in that mess now that just aren't performing. Do you know what I mean? So Kai Havertz coming out of that now. It's only been a few months that he's been at Arsenal. He needs time. He does need time. And I feel like there's a lot of patience. I feel like fans do need to learn patience, because, and I mean that not in the any condescending way or anything like that, because patience is a hard thing to learn. I feel like Laurie said it as well. It was said on the Twitter space this morning. There were players that came in like Bergkamp, Henry, and this, that, and the other. These players took time to actually bet into Arsenal before they became the players that they are now. Arteta sees something in Havertz that we didn't see. When this broke in the summer that we was potentially buying him, I wasn't sure of the player. That I wasn't sure why we was buying him, because I said, yeah, he does have some talent, but if anyone can get it out of him, it would be Arteta, because he sees something in him. So there is that side. But then on the other side, where I'm like, the only person that can change his narrative is Havertz. For him to run more, to like show more urgency and have that concentration. Someone said it in the Twitter this morning, concentration is key, and sometimes his concentration is lacking in those key moments. If his concentration is on when that chance comes to him into the Man United game, we go 1-0 up.
But sorry, it's not gonna. I don't think it's gonna change though, bro. Like that, I know what you're saying. You want to see him work hard, like make effort, press the ball, but that's not his game. And
he has a certain what I call laconic style.
It's very relaxed. Like Ozil. I was about to say that. Ozil, bro, like he wound me up, because I like a player that is ferocious and presses and will close people down. But when Ozil was on the ball, he was magic. Now Havertz is not that yet, but you let go of you chase and run around the ball because of what he does on the ball. So Havertz, I don't see change. I think he has to just start clicking into place when it comes to scoring maybe big goals or finding pockets of space and assisting and affecting the game, like Laurie said earlier, positively.
I absolutely hear that as well. But I feel like in this Arsenal team right now, we have a team full of energetic players that are willing to run and die for the team. Do you know what I mean? And as the season goes on, I get what you're saying. Like, he can be that player that can just pop back the back post and get that goal. But at the same time with Ozil, it felt like we was playing with 10 players. Do you know what I mean?
At times, yeah.
At times. So I get what you're saying, but I just don't want it to keep coming back on Havertz and people using him, because he feels like sometimes it's a scapegoat as well, because we haven't played great this in the last 4 games, and that's not all due to Havertz.
No, of course not.
Do you know what I mean? We're trying to become so unpredictable right now to have these things in place when these challenges do come further on in the season. I can't even get my words straight, but I feel like with Havertz, we just need time. He just needs time. But at the same time, he needs to change it himself.
Would you start him against Everton? If he's not going to run,
say again?
Would you start him against Everton if you're the manager?
If I was Arteta, I would start him, because Arteta is going to start. But at the same time, like I said, like, even if Havertz is not going to run, then you need to be switched on in that one moment in the game. And then pull it in the back of the net. Look at Haaland. Haaland doesn't do hardly anything. Obviously, it's a mad comparison because it's Haaland, but Haaland doesn't practically do anything for the whole game. But that one chance he gets, and I remember that goal he scored against Burnley, he didn't even look at the goal. One chance, bang, in the goal. If you're not going to run around, then do that. At least. Be Haaland. That's all I'm asking.
So that's a big ask, bro.
No, I'm joking. I'm joking. It's all good. But you know what I'm saying? He's got to be more switched on.
I hear you. Listen, Deanie, big up, because we've got loads of callers waiting.
Yeah,
love to hear from you again, brother. Yeah, big respect.
Stay blessed. You lot are all safe, yeah?
We have our next caller.
Did we have our poll going?
Mano, our poll is going, but I'll come back to that at some point. We also got some super chats. But Mano, are you there? Hello? How are you?
Hello there. How are you guys doing? It's been a long time. I tried to get on.
All good, man. All good. Where are you calling in from?
I'm from Texas.
Texas? God. Texas, man. I haven't been there yet, but I'd love to go there. But anyway, listen.
I'd love to go.
Mano, all the way over in Texas, your thoughts on Mr. Kai Havertz, or King Caius, as some may say.
I think I'll divide the opinion of the fans. Like, I personally have nothing against Kai Havertz, to be honest. I think the only game he had bad was last game. And the first 3 games, hear me out, like, I don't think it's Kai's fault. It's because of the formation, and then everybody's blaming the formation on Kai. And that's the issue there. But I feel like, I'm going to start him until he scores. That's what I think.
You're gonna start him until he scores. So
yes.
If you was the manager, which to be fair, Arteta maybe doing the same sort of thing.
I understand why, because obviously you want to back the player. Yeah? But then you got to think of some of the other guys that are.
Go on. What was you going to say? Go on. What was you going to say there? Just sorry.
It's not only backing the player. Like, I actually rate Kai Havertz. I don't rate him at Chelsea. And then the thing is, like, because of how bad he was in Chelsea, like, our mind is all on his form in Chelsea. And yeah, he hasn't done well. I mean, I'm not even going to say he hasn't done well. I think the worst game he had was United. And also, all of us are focusing on every single mistake he makes. If you realize, our whole team makes a lot of mistakes because we play very front-footed, right? So a lot of them make simple, like, silly mistakes, right? But we don't talk about it as much because, obviously, because they are our star boys, our captain, and we can't talk about it. I mean, I'm not saying we can't talk about it, but we don't talk about it.
Of course. Listen, I've mentioned this as well, but go on, carry on.
And then, because, like, I think he will come through. Like, that's my opinion. And for saying, like, other players, like, I think this is my view. Like, I love Smith Rowe, right? I love Fabio Vieira, right? But Kai Havertz has that, even though he doesn't score, right? He has that inkling to get into the box and get into the right position. And you say, if it was Smith Rowe, he would have scored, right? In my opinion, Smith Rowe would not be in that place where Kai Havertz was when the ball was passed to it.
I hear you.
And that's just my view. Obviously, it's margins,
Of course. But getting into the position, and I hear it, but we actually need you to score in those positions. I know. Okay.
Yeah, of course. I was kicking myself. I mean, I was saying whatever I could to Havertz at that moment. Like, that's This is football. As a fan,
Yeah.
I can't.
To me,
need
there
them to
were
score
two
that.
instances in that game that showed me that we're looking at a player that is not in his best time in terms of confidence. One was the opportunity that opened up for him, the way he took that chance where he basically miskicked the ball, which was unfortunate. There's that, and I spoke earlier about the penalty incident where I felt that if he was in his full confident self, he would have backed himself to go through that gap and finish the chance off. Those two incidents in that game showed me that a player that's not quite up at the level, his confidence levels are not quite there yet. But I'm not, as I said, I'm not willing to throw him under the bus just yet.
No, he did mention.
That was an observation.
He did mention, though. He did say that game.
No, I'm
against
saying
United
that's my
was-
observation.
Yeah, he said that was the game.
Someone lacking
He
in
didn't have a good game,
confidence.
so that's fine.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I also think like Arteta is gonna play him until he scores. And I personally am fine with it, other than, because Everton is gonna be a tough game, right? And Tottenham, well, let's be honest, like even though no matter how high they're flying, they're gonna come down when they come to Emirates. That's always the case, that always will happen. And I think like I personally would play him because right now we can tinker around. We can keep going. I mean, like Fulham game was a wake up call, but still we can still change a few things around. And I think Havertz, I don't know. I'm in the same boat as Arteta, to be honest. Like I'm not gonna die by Havertz, but I think I'm gonna support him until he scores. To be honest, because
it could be the sword that Mikel falls on, though. Because I hear what you're saying. He might keep him playing until he scores, but
I think it's also important to remember, Cecil, that yes, you guys, what you're saying there is right. You could keep persisting with him until he scores, but that's as long as the results are going in our favour.
Exactly.
Because the minute we lose,
to Everton,
if we lose,
and Tottenham potentially,
it's going to be a whole nother ball game in terms of what the fan. You know what I mean? So I get what you're saying, bro, and I do see it. But the results have also got to be there.
Go on.
You know what
I
I mean?
mean, I'm still like this is off the topic, but I'm still confident we're gonna win the league. To be honest, like, I totally believe we're gonna win it. City is, and I think people are sleeping on Liverpool a lot. To be honest, because I think that's the second big challenge. I thought United, but I mean United, like to be honest, played really well. But their really well is what really baffles me because their really well is counterattack. For a team like United.
Yeah. Well, listen. Thank you so much for joining us, and I appreciate it, man. Giving your thoughts, and
I do like that comment he made about stay with him until he scores, because I kind of think that's what the manager's thinking as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's also if you bring him to bench, then he's just gonna be in bench, and I don't think it's gonna hurt his confidence even more. But I understand, like if it's bad, obviously I want him out because I don't want to lose a game for him.
Well, listen, thank you very much. We have Solomon coming up next. Thank you very much. Take care. Have a great day. We have Solomon up next. Hello, Solomon. Oh, sound. You seem stressed. Can't hear you, Solomon.
God.
There you are, Solomon.
How you doing? Can you hear me?
I can hear you now, loud and clear.
Oh, God, my God. I've always been trying to get on. I've not always been able to get on, but I'm glad I am on today. Good afternoon. How you all doing? Laurie, good afternoon.
Yeah, big up, man. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Nigeria.
Okay, nice one. Yeah, respect. We got a lot of Nigerian followers, so yeah, that's good to hear from you, man.
Yeah, big
up. So what's your points on the Havertz?
There we go.
Yeah, for me, I think we cannot shine from it, but we the fans are kind of concerned. We're more concerned about Havertz because he came from Chelsea. Like we're caught between two walls now. Talking about he coming from Chelsea, and then the fact that the manager actually wants him to play. Like I think this is the issue we're having. Okay, for example, we had this same challenge with Fabio Vieira last year. We could overlook it, and we stuck with him and we gave him the chance. And right now we're clamoring for him to actually come on instead of Havertz. But the issue is he's coming from Chelsea, and considering the track record, Benayoun, Gallas, talk about David Luiz, everything that every of Chelsea's players that we've gotten have not actually turned out well. So I think the fans definitely really we might try to be smart about it, try to be professional, like about it, but we are actually we have a little bit of the Chelsea factor is inclusive in our issues. Like we might try to play down, but actually,
you are right about that. You are right. There's no doubt.
The Chelsea issue is a factor for me. For me, if okay, let's take it like this. Let's make it like Havertz is coming from somewhere like let's say Leicester. Yes, Leicester, Bournemouth, and we actually acquired, and he plays bad for. Let me even assume he play bad for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games. We kind of will tell, okay, please, we'll keep mentioning, we keep telling you, okay, there is the quality is there, the quality is there. We keep saying the quality is here and there, and we'll get it done up. But because it's from Chelsea and the record of what we get from Chelsea, I think that is just the reason why he has the fans spitting. You know, some fans.
It's just the reason, though? What about the 65 mil?
Yes. I think yes, because you're paying Chelsea 65 mil. Considering the crisis, you know, you're paying Chelsea again. You are helping them out. We know we help. People believe right in Nigeria. We felt like what we feel is we helped Chelsea out, and they needed a way out for this guy, and we kind of paid for him. In fact, when I heard the record that they're interested in Balogun, I felt like, okay, just get back the 65 million just get it back. I don't care. If Kai Havertz was from Chelsea for maybe 10 million, 4 million, 5 million, 15 million, the criticism is going to be lower. Well, that's what I just feel for me. That's what I feel.
That's a fair comment. Yeah.
Would you start him come the game against Everton, Solomon?
Really, I think for me personally, I think Havertz doesn't really suit the kind of game we play, really. I try to find a way to fix him in, and I can't put him in any place, because basically
there's not a position that you think he best suits in this Arsenal side.
Because he's slow, he's very slow. He's technically sound, but you know, Martinelli is very quick. Odegaard has quick feet. Saka is untouchable.
You may be surprised to learn he's actually very quick, you know. I think he's got, this is what I'm saying about earlier when I said he's got that laconic kind of body language. But if you research into him, he's actually very quick in terms of his pace across the ground. He's actually very quick.
But we haven't seen that. We haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, that's the point. Yeah. You actually need to get something to see something. Look, he's not the only player we have doubts about. I think when Kivior came in, we had doubts. When Kivior came in, we kind of had doubts. We kind of have our moments with him. Look at, even right now, I feel put any other person in that Arsenal squad in that position, and I will be fine. All the fans will be all right with it. Let it be Smith-Rowe, everybody is fine. Let it be Trossard, everybody will be fine. Everybody will be fine with any other person sides Havertz, and that's why I think the Chelsea thing is just the Chelsea, the fee. Because ask anybody, if there is Smith-Rowe there, nobody will complain. Nobody, even if we lose the game, nobody will blame. Nobody will kind of will scapegoat Smith-Rowe. Nobody will scapegoat any other person once it isn't Havertz. So even if Havertz should go ahead and play as a striker, whether he plays as a goalkeeper, whether he plays as a right back or a left back, whichever way he plays, if anything goes wrong, you know, everything just go back to it's really Havertz. But for me, I don't think he's a bad player. He's a good player. When Chelsea got him from Leverkusen, I wish we actually got him then. But fortunately, we didn't get him. Now we got him, and I felt like just because of the track record at Chelsea, personally, I feel that is why we are actually having issues. So for me, against Everton, I am not really going to start him personally. That's for me, because basically I feel like any other person will do a better, will kind of reduce the tension than Havertz. Smith-Rowe will reduce it. Anybody else comes in and reduces the tension from the fan base. That's what I personally think.
Okay, listen, thank you so much, Solomon.
Thank you, bro. You must call back again.
Yes, you must come back on FANZONE again. You've put a smile on my face. Thank you for speaking, Evan. You're safe, man. Big up to everyone in Nigeria. Solomon, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Big up the Niger Massive.
Thank you.
We have Javi Javier, my man, is he there? Yeah, there he is. He's ready to drop some.
He's going to drop some gems.
I can imagine.
I can see it in his
Oh
face.
my God! Y'all swear I'm gonna come on here and like gather a rally and go, burn this guy at the stake or something.
I can see in your face you're getting ready to drop those science, man.
Right.
I'm just gonna stretch a little bit first, get into it.
Javier, let's talk Kai Havertz, man. Let's talk him because I listen. A lot of people, you just saw Solomon as well, just come on. He speaks about it's the Chelsea thing. Laurie mentioned the price tag. For me, it's none of those things. By the way, I want to make that clear. That is not the reason why.
I don't think there's one single reason. Is the point I'm making.
Yeah, no, I know, but I don't agree with those reasons. That's my personal take because I guess it's not my train of thought, but. Your thought, Javier, what's your thoughts on Kai Havertz so far? And do you see him, I'm kind of going with this whole fan zone, what every fan has come on and said, is it about giving him time?
Listen, every single player deserves time. And with a player like Kai Havertz, the amount of managerial changes that he's had, the different amount of positions, the different systems that he's played at Chelsea, it's difficult for any young player to really be able to prosper and grow and define themselves when their career has shaped out in that manner. And so coming to Arsenal and finally having a little bit of stability in a fixed position should help him in that regard. The problem regarding the impatience that we have is that in us moving on from Granit Xhaka, we knew that we needed to bring somebody in who can bed in straight away. And why there were so many questions around Kai is because of the fact that nobody really understood where it was that he was going to fit into our system. And so I think the impatience comes from the fact of we were able to close such a big gap on Man City, and yet we still fell short. And we know that if we want to beat Man City, we need to come flying out of the gate. There's no really, there's no time to allow us to figure things out. And that's the frustration with Kai Havertz. It's like, why did we sign him when we should have gotten somebody who we knew could fit into the system and can be that Xhaka replacement and just allow us to kick on? But
did Arteta think that he was that player? Arteta is an intelligent man. I know he's got things wrong in the past as well, but there's no denying he's an intelligent man and how it knows what's best for this side. So he must have thought this is the Xhaka replacement, or it's the next cog in my system to improve and keep other teams guessing. I haven't seen it yet, but that he must be thinking that.
Yeah, and he's definitely doubled down on it. I mean, we've seen the comparisons he's made to his wife and the seduction process and everything like that. I think a lot of a waffle too because of those green eyes and that hair. I mean, listen, I don't swing that way.
Yeah, exactly.
He doesn't need that. Yeah. But the thing is, like, it's just that's why when we signed him, I said that this is a huge gamble that Arteta is taking, and that gamble needs to pay dividends.
Yeah.
So as much as we can get on the player, we know he's a confidence player. I would tell the fans, to be ruthless and hold the people accountable, but hold the right person accountable regarding this transfer. I don't think Havertz is the person to come after. It has to be Arteta because this was clearly his call. So if he doesn't get it right, don't blame it on the player. It's not like the player was killing it at Chelsea and then he came here and decided, I'm just gonna piss off like some other Chelsea players did. This is Arteta's call, so he's the one that should be taking the burden of the blame and take the lad out of the firing line, and Arteta's the one that needs to be held accountable here.
Listen, what he's saying there, Laurie. I just want to get your thoughts. What have you?
That's kind of broadly in view, in agreement with what I said.
What? Go straight to the manager and not look at.
No. In terms of taking him out the firing line, and you can still support him and still play him without starting. Which is what I'm saying.
Do you think, Javier, just because I know we're going to close up soon, do you think this could be the sword that Arteta does fall on? Because I hear what you're saying, it is on Arteta and he should get time, is what Laurie's saying as well, give him some time, put him onto the bench. But if Arteta stays persistent and it doesn't work out, do you think there's enough credit for him for it to pass? I say, look, we've got Everton coming up, then we've got PSV, then we've got Spurs. If Havertz plays in all those games, doesn't hit the heights that us as fans want to see, do you think it starts to turn sour for Mikel Arteta, or do you think, do you know what? Even if it doesn't work out, Arteta's fine.
So I'm gonna tackle that from two angles. The first is, I think when you look at the history of managers, the brightest and most intelligent managers have always died on their sword.
Yeah.
They just refuse to change their way of being. There's a certain madness that comes to them. It's like that mad genius analogy that you see in films or in theater. And so I like managers who have that sense of stubbornness, because as a leader, if at any point you show to your players and your staff that you're doubting yourself or your system, then why should I believe anything else?
Yeah.
it's very easy to support the manager or support a leader or a president or whatever it may be when times are good and it's flying high. But it's the moments of trouble that you have to say, back me and I got this. And even if you're faking it, you have to stick to your principles. That is essential, especially for a young squad that is sometimes going to look for that belief in the manager, where you may not have that in senior players. But secondly, whether Arteta's downfall comes 6 months from now, a year from now, 10 years from now, or it never comes at all, I think that there are many other things that one can look at besides Kai Havertz. You can look at the Tierney situation. You can look at Thomas Partey's situation, who's injured yet again.
An injury.
You know, so there's many other things that you can look at besides just Kai Havertz. Because I think that this summer window, despite us getting Declan Rice, you know, still raised a lot of questions and left a lot of doubts, and I do think that's going to come back to bite us later on this season. So there's multiple different swords right now that he could easily fall on. Hopefully he doesn't. He seems to have, you know, I did some Aikido and he baited them in the past. I'm confident he can do it again. But hopefully Havertz comes good, man. And listen, Arteta took the bet. He took the bet on Aubameyang. He took the bet on a lot of other players. And so far, he's had a pretty decent, you know, return. So hopefully that continues.
Javier, listen, thank you so much, man. It's
Thanks,
always
bro.
good to hear you speak, man, and come on the fans.
Very good call as always.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Laura. Appreciate that.
Take care, my bro. Have a great rest of your week. Okay, well, that is it for the callers. We do have some super chats and some comments to get through, but that is a very respectful conversation.
That was a good debate, man.
I did enjoy that. I must say, it's nice to see all angles, and it's going to be.
How are we doing in the poll?
Doing in the poll, I knew you wanted to bring that up. Should Havertz start against Everton? 37% of you say yes. 63% of you say no.
That's actually higher than I thought.
63. So a lot of people say, no, give him a break, bed him in easy. I'm sure that's kind of the whole consensus kind of this conversation.
I'm pretty sure that most people feel kind of similar or broadly to the way I was saying, which is, listen, we know that we feel that the player should be given time. However, just put your arm around the guy and say, look, you've not had the best of starts, but I believe in you. We're going to try a slightly different approach. I want to have a look at some other guys in that position. You're still in my plans long term. You will get game time. Be patient. We're backing you. But sit this one out for the Everton game and we see how we go. There are other guys chomping at the bit. I think they need a look as well. There's nothing wrong with that. To me, Arteta's ego will not be bruised that much. I think it's better to look at it that way rather than saying I'm just going to persist until this eventually comes good.
But I think over a period of time.
The problem with that approach is one, couple of other players in the team are going to start getting pissed off if they're not be seen to be given an opportunity. And B, I guess, and this is crucial, the results are also very pivotal. So I guess you could persist with him as long as the results go well, but the minute they start to fall off a little bit,
because everyone keeps highlighting in the comments, like, look at, like you mentioned before, Bergkamp, look at Henry, like they had time, but I just feel like the era we live in right now, the fast food era, the quick, I want everything now. We are hungry.
You mean your era? Yeah.
We are hungry of a trophy, and that's I am. I'm going to say that I definitely am hungry of a trophy.
And it's the level of scrutiny, isn't it?
Exactly. This is what I'm saying. We finished second last season. Like we want things now. There's not like back in the day where Arsenal were always challenging and a beast. Where when it comes to cup games, we can play our youngsters or try new things. Now I'm like, Arteta, when we go into every cup competition, I don't want you to take it light. I don't want that. But that's more pressure on these players. So there's not really time for him to be like,
it's a level of scrutiny and what you're talking about there, which is the weight of expectation.
Exactly. I think
we came runners up last year. People want us to go one better this year. At the very least, they want us to make a sustained challenge. And if they feel that we're not quite hitting the heights on the pitch, they're going to voice their opinion.
Yeah, which is not to the detriment of Kai Havertz, but that's just it. Well, it is actually to the detriment of Kai Havertz, because that's when the more pressure comes to that player, but also other players as well. There's pressure on all players this season because we all want to win something. I'm going to read through these super chats before we end up. Jay Federer says, learn from Vieira, and I'm talking about Fabio Vieira here, I believe. He looked mediocre at end of last season, but now after a full pre-season, he looks great. Players can 100% improve without starting. Again, that's a good super chat. And I know a lot of people kind of looking at the Fabio Vieira effect and how.
No, I think that's a very good point.
He's come in.
Yeah.
No, it's a good point. Let's go to Jay Lorney with a super chat. Says, I don't believe in Kai, I believe in the manager. But that's where I had to question Javier as well, because soon it may flip from I don't believe in the manager, but I believe in our players. It's right now it's that. But if the manager continues to be consistent and things
I think the point
go
that Javier
wrong,
was making, which is one that I do agree with as well, is that when you bring in a guy for 65 million and you publicly backed him the way the manager has done, you can fall on your sword if it doesn't work out ultimately. We've seen big managers fall on their swords because signings have not proven to have worked out, and they've fallen on their sword. I always say, in fact, that spending big money is a double-edged sword, because on the one hand, the managers get the money they want to buy the players they want. Unfortunately, though, sometimes if it doesn't work out, the hierarchy at the clubs and the fans, etc., says, say, look, we're giving you X amount of hundreds of millions, you've spent the money, and it's not made the team better. In fact, we're performing worse. You've got to go. So, it's very often a double-edged sword. But
I'm sent. Thomas,
that's football at the top level, I'm afraid.
Thomas King of Super Chat says that the toxic fan base holds us back. Give Kai time. I think that's a bit harsh.
I would disagree with that. It's not toxic. Well, certainly what I've seen. People are expressing their opinions. Just because some people say they don't want to Havertz to start in the next game, they're not necessarily being toxic.
No, of course not. It's a conversation.
Football's a game of opinions. I guess it depends on how you articulate those opinions. Certainly, I'm not being toxic by saying I don't want him to start against Everton. I'm actually thinking about the player as much as the club.
100%. And I need people to understand this is Arsenal Football Club. Like, please, it's not toxicity. It's not me going to like pushing for extreme standards, but they need to understand, like, this is the situation we're in. It's Arsenal Football Club, one of the biggest clubs in the world, and we want to see success.
Listen, maybe some fans are being toxic, but myself and you,
I
people
like
I've spoken
having
to, they've
genuine
been quite level-headed
conversations.
about it.
100%. I'm here and I love speaking to fans. I love getting the thoughts and feelings and opinions, and that's what it is. That's what I love being on this channel. So it's never toxic, especially here. We try and keep it fair and balanced, however you might feel on the player. Don Robbie Defster with Super Chat says, incredible the amount of decisions Arteta makes that proves fans wrong. Main thing that slows the process is fans shitting on a player before they've even played, and then further once they do play. Interesting. I
don't see anyone well, I certainly are not anyway.
Listen, people have their thoughts, people have their feelings. Obviously, off the back of the Man United performance as well, there was going to be a lot of eyes on Kai Havertz's performance, but I don't think I had my premonitions of Havertz because I've watched him as a player before and I've seen him in the Premier League. That's where I made my judgment. Now I feel like, yes, I'm being proven right, but I don't want to be proven right. I want Arteta to get it right. So I'm in hope, as many supporters should be, that Kai Havertz turns good and his team succeeds, because that's what it is to be a supporter.
A couple of seasons ago, Nicolas Pepe arrived in a blaze of glory. We all saw the YouTube highlights of him ghosting down the wing, beating enough man, scoring play. We paid £72 million for him. At the time, everyone was hooping and hollering, getting the pom-poms out. It didn't quite work out. Now, the reason why I bring up Pepe as well is that I was always an advocate for Pepe.
And I wasn't.
And now, and you were ultimately proved right.
Well, I was proved, exactly.
You know what I mean? That's not me shitting on a player or even Cecil shitting on a player. It's just sometimes these things don't work out.
Yeah,
so
I watched Nicolas Pepe. When I wanted Zaha, and then I heard I was getting Nicolas Pepe. I did a lot of research on what Nicolas Pepe was as a player, and I realised this he's not the one for me. And heavily was a confidence player as well. I've kind of made my judgment. Sadly, I was proven right, but that's not what we want as fans. But
some work, some don't work. That's just being honest, bro. That's the way it is.
100%. Nicholas coming up to the last super chats. Nicholas with the last super chats. The penultimate one. Sorry. Havertz is good at the invisible stuff. He occupies the right space and forces opponents into playing long ball from their own half. He'll start. I think he's saying in reference to the Everton
I think he
game.
will start, but the poll says he shouldn't. So there you go.
I know it's difficult because off the ball stuff, everyone keeps going to that, but I've seen Declan Rice work so hard off the ball and also work so hard on the ball, and I can't compare obviously the two players, but I need to see more from Havertz. I've seen players work amazingly off the ball, but also on the ball as well. Martin Odegaard, he does both, and it's not above Kai Havertz's remit to achieve that either. Bilal says Turkish reaction to the second goal and Sharoy's to the third, laughing faces. I'm assuming he's referring to the Man United game. It was a moment. What a moment. A good laugh. But listen, that is it for today's Fan Zone. Thank you for everyone that got involved, and thank you, Laurie, for joining me.
Thank you, man. I think you did very well.
What do you mean I think you did well? What do you think this is? You're giving me some on-screen appraisal. We're not business if you
did
think I did well or good or bad.
Listen, I've hosted these fan zones. I know it's not an easy thing to do. You got to host, you got to ask questions. You're looking at the screen
Comments,
there,
yeah.
reading out super chats. You got the production team in your ear.
You got people in comments cussing us as well, saying we
really?
don't know, saying we don't know nothing. Get these people, you know what I mean? But no, you keep it smooth, keep it real, and like I said, this fan zone is all about you guys. So you guys can join us on all these fan zone lives. I know you guys want the 5 lives back, but this is the best place to get in communication with us and also give your feelings and thoughts on a massive topic that is going on amongst the fan base. So make sure you get involved. Download the AFTV Plus app. I want you to become a regular on the AFTV fan zone. That's what it's about, building a community. Thank you for joining us, and make sure you stay tuned to all the AFTV content coming your way, especially on this international break. We'll see you again very soon. Take care.